So now I would like to share my personal experience with trying to be patient. And what I definitely need to say is that I have struggled with being patient. And certainly the hardest it was for me to be patient was actually while creating this very episode, which is ironic, of course, because this episode is on patience. But it also has some advantage because I've actually learned what I've done wrong, so to say, and what I might do to be more patient. So what I like to share with you now is 2 phases while working on this podcast in which I was quite impatient, and then share with you why that was the case and what I've learned from that. So the first phase started when I had this idea for this podcast. That's actually that's been 10 years ago. I had this idea already, and I didn't do it at the time. And well, I wasn't so patient with it. I think I was lacking trust that one day I will finally be ready to do it and I will finally do it. And the fact that I didn't do it at the time used to make me doubt. It made me doubt my discipline. So maybe I wasn't working hard enough. It made me doubt my decisions. So, maybe along the way I did some wrong decision, and that led to my podcast not manifesting, not becoming a reality. And ultimately it made me doubt myself. And well, during this podcast and especially now that I'm actually doing it, I can clearly see that, well, this was the wrong conclusion, and the fact that I hadn't done it at the time didn't mean that there was something wrong with me, but just that the time for it hadn't yet come. So that's my first insight. And then talking about the second phase, that started when I actually started to work on this podcast, on this episode. I also had some challenges with being patient. So that was a couple of months ago, and then especially during 1 week when I took a vacation, 1 week vacation just to work on this episode. And I remember when this week started that I had the thought that I have to finish this episode by the end of the week, otherwise I will never do it. And well, I think I had 2 reasons for having this thought. The first reason is that, well, it's my history, right? I didn't do it for 10 years, so I thought I really have to do it now, otherwise it really might just never happen. And the second reason was that I thought, thinking that I have to do it now, I have to finish in a week, will really motivate me to really work hard, right? But what I've realized during this week is the consequence of that thought just made me feel super stressed and also very tense, and even to the point where it was hard for me to calm down, which makes sense in a way, right? Because actually it's really my dream to do it, and if I then realize that it's actually not possible because it's so much work, of course I will feel very stressed and very tense. And well, that was one consequence of me not being that patient with myself and while creating this episode. But there was also a second aspect of it, which is that because I had this thought, because I was impatient, I also really didn't feel any joy while working on this episode. Which again is understandable because I felt just so stressed and so tense that the natural joy I have from doing it seemed to just be suppressed. So naturally, I really love doing it. This is what I really want to do. I have so much joy, but if I have this thought, this expectation of it has to be done until then, I just feel stressed and don't even have any joy. And what I've also realized is that during this week, as the week was progressing, my stress level went up and up, even more and more. And only then, it was probably like already Saturday or so, where I just realized that it was really impossible that I would finish it by the end of the week. Only then was I able to accept it, that it will take longer, and only when I was able to accept that it would just take longer than I wanted it to, only then was I able to calm down, and only then was I able to experience joy again.